All right, so get this. Today we're diving into something super important for every learner out there. Sleep. But hold on, not just any sleep. We're talking sleep as a superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard right. Sleep as a superpower for learning and productivity. And, here on the Deep Dive, we're all about finding those little things that give you an edge.
It's pretty crazy how we often think of being asleep as like the opposite of getting things done? But the truth is, it's actually super important for just about everything our brains do.
Right, it's like the foundation. And speaking of unexpected stuff, the source material we're looking at today is pretty interesting. It's a YouTube video. And get this, it's from a Yale student who goes by Hung Online. Yeah, so she's got all these sleep tips she swears by. And I gotta be honest, some of them sound a little out there.
Out there for sure, but get this, they're actually backed by science. So that's what we're going to break down today. What's the real deal behind these sleep strategies? And most importantly, how can you actually use them to improve your learning?
I like it. So less theory, more results. Okay, so one of the first things that really jumped out at me from this video was this idea that all the top students, all the high achievers, are sleep gods. Or as she puts it in Chinese, histe yani histe, histe yan yang. Honestly, at first I thought, is this a joke?
Right. It does sound a little, I don't know, mystical almost.
Right.
But think about it. When you're well rested, your focus is sharper, you remember things more easily, and you're way less likely to make those dumb little mistakes. And all of that is super important when you're trying to learn anything new.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here. It's like sleep is the secret weapon we've all been overlooking. So spill the beans. What are some of the tricks these quote-unquote sleep gods are using?
All right, so she really digs into two main techniques. The first one she calls a pow nap, which in Chinese is hey. And the idea is pretty simple. You're going for a quick burst of energy in just 30 minutes.
Okay, wait a minute. 30 minutes and you're good to go. That sounds almost too good to be true.
I know, right?
So how does that even work?
It's all about understanding sleep cycles. You see, our sleep isn't just one long, continuous thing. It's actually broken down into cycles. We go through phases of deep sleep and light sleep throughout the night. So pow napping.
Yeah.
The whole point is to stay in that lighter stage of sleep.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not actually aiming to fall into a deep sleep.
Right. It's more like a strategic rest.
Makes sense. I noticed in the video, she even talks about this visualization technique to help you stay in that light sleep zone.
Yeah.
Something about picturing yourself on a beach or in a forest.
Yeah,
Does
exactly.
that actually work?
It's all about finding that balance where your mind is relaxed, but you're not completely knocked out.
So it's kind of like a mini meditation in the middle of your day.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense, especially if you're trying to squeeze in some rest during a crazy study schedule.
Exactly.
So no more counting sheep.
Yeah.
It's more like counting sandcastles now, huh?
You got it. It's about guiding your mind to a peaceful place. But without totally drifting off. It takes a bit of practice to get it right. But it can be really effective once you get the hang of it.
Okay, so we've covered pow naps. What's the second technique she talks about?
This one's called Golden 90-Minute Sleep, and it's definitely a bit more unusual. It's all about getting one full 90-minute sleep cycle, which includes a good chunk of deep sleep, to really recharge your system.
Wait, hold on a second. Are you saying I can get a full night's rest in just 90 minutes?
Well, it's not exactly the same as a full 7 or 8 hours.
Right, because I'm a pretty heavy sleeper.
Yeah,
And even I'm having a hard time believing that one.
I get it. It sounds a little crazy. But think of it more like a strategic power-up for those times when you absolutely need to be at your best, even if you haven't had a perfect night's sleep.
Okay, I'm willing to keep an open mind, but is there any real science behind this?
Actually, there is. In the video, she talks about research from the Silk Human Science Research Institute, which is 2R2 in Japanese. And their research supports this whole idea. Apparently, they've found that aligning your sleep with these natural 90-minute cycles can make your sleep much more efficient and refreshing.
Okay, so maybe there's something to this golden 90-minute sleep after all. But how do you actually make it happen? Is it like some super complicated process?
It's not as complicated as you might think. The key is in regulating two things, your body temperature and your brain activity.
Wait a minute, are we talking like biohacking here? Because that's a whole other deep dive we could do.
No biohacking required, I promise. It's really about tapping into our natural sleep mechanisms. The goal is to basically create the right conditions that tell your body it's time to wind down.
Sounds good to me. Less hacking, more relaxing.
Exactly.
So how do we actually do that? What does that look like?
A lot of it comes down to minimizing the difference between your internal body temperature and the temperature of your surroundings.
Oh,
This helps your body transition into sleep mode more smoothly.
so like tricking your body into thinking it's bedtime, basically.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Hmm.
I noticed in the video she mentioned some pretty simple stuff like taking a hot bath or shower before bed, adjusting your room temperature, even doing some light exercise.
Yep, those are all great ways to help regulate your body temperature. And don't underestimate the power of a cool, dark room. It's like creating your own little sleep sanctuary.
Okay, got it. No more late night workouts or blasting the heat before bed then. But what about our brains? How do we switch those off from learn mode, especially when we're constantly taking in new information?
That's a really good question, and one she addresses directly in the video. She's a huge advocate for engaging in calm and even monotonous activities for about an hour before you go to sleep. Things like listening to relaxing music, audiobooks, or just meditating.
So no more scrolling through social media or cramming in last-minute studying before bed, huh? I'm sensing a theme here.
I-
Everything in its time.
You remember how we talked about blue light earlier? Screens are basically notorious for emitting it, and that can really mess with your melatonin production,
Hmm.
which, is the hormone that helps you fall asleep. It's like you're telling your brain it's still daytime.
Ah, that makes sense. It's like a mixed message for your body. Okay, so screens are out, calming activities are in. Got it. What else can we do to get our brains ready for sleep?
This one might surprise you, but one of her biggest tips is actually about getting enough sunlight during the day.
Wait, what? Daytime habits affecting our sleep at night. Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Tell me more.
Yeah, so it might seem kind of backwards, but daylight actually plays a huge role in regulating our sleep-wake cycle. When you get enough sunlight, your body produces serotonin, and then later on, that gets converted into melatonin at night. Melatonin is that sleep hormone we were talking about.
Oh, okay. So it's like a domino effect. Sunlight during the day actually sets us up for better sleep at night. I gotta admit, I'm definitely guilty of not getting enough sun. I spend way too much time indoors, glued to my computer. Maybe I need to rethink my whole routine.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can relate to that. Even just a short walk outside can make a big difference. It's like an investment in your sleep, which ultimately is an investment in your learning.
That's a great way to look at it. It's not just about relaxing, it's about improving how we learn. Okay, so we've talked about how to fall asleep effectively. But what about waking up feeling refreshed and ready to go? Any secrets for that?
Well, this Yale student has a tip for that too. She suggests leaving your curtains just slightly open so that the natural light can wake you up gradually. It's a way more gentle way to start your day than like a blaring alarm clock.
That's really interesting. I've always struggled with waking up, but I never even thought about trying that. It just seems counterintuitive to, let light in when you're trying to sleep. So how does that even work?
It all comes down to working with your body's natural rhythms instead of against them. So sunlight naturally suppresses melatonin production. And at the same time, it stimulates cortisol, which is that hormone that helps us feel alert and awake. So when sunlight starts creeping into your room, it's like a signal to your body that it's time to wake up.
Interesting. So it's like a natural wake-up call. Instead of being jolted awake by an alarm, you're gently eased into wakefulness by the sunlight. I like the sound of that. But hold on, I just realized something. We haven't even talked about how what we do during the day affects our sleep.
You're right. We've been so focused on the nighttime routine. But sleep isn't just about those few hours we're actually in bed. It's about creating a whole lifestyle that supports good sleep.
It's like a 2-4-7 thing.
Exactly.
Everything is connected.
It's not just about what we do right before bed. It's about making choices throughout the day that ultimately contribute to our overall sleep quality.
Okay, I like that. So it's about building a foundation for good sleep. So what kind of things are we talking about here?
Well, let's take exercise, for example. Regular exercise can definitely improve your sleep. But it's best to avoid those really intense workouts close to bedtime.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to be all wired up right before you're trying to wind down.
Exactly.
What about food? Does that play a role too?
Oh, absolutely. What you eat and when you eat can have a huge impact on your sleep.
Okay, so specific examples.
Well, big meals close to bedtime can disrupt your sleep because your body's busy digesting instead of resting.
So no late night pizza for optimal sleep. Man, that's a tough one to swallow.
Maybe save the pizza for an earlier dinner. And hey, don't forget about hydration.
Oh, right, water.
Yeah, being dehydrated can actually lead to sleep disturbances, so make sure you're drinking enough water throughout the day.
Okay, so staying hydrated is key, but maybe not right before bed
Mm.
if you want to avoid those middle-of-the-night bathroom trips.
Exactly. Got to time it right.
It's pretty amazing how all these little things we might not even think about can actually add up to make such a big difference in our sleep.
It really is. It's all about being mindful of the choices we make throughout the day and recognizing how those choices contribute to our overall well-being, including our sleep.
This whole concept of sleep optimization is really eye-opening.
Yeah.
It's not just about how much you sleep, it's about the quality of that sleep
Yeah,
and how it all fits into your daily life. It's
exactly.
a bigger picture kind of thing.
It's about understanding your own individual sleep needs and then creating a personalized sleep routine that actually supports your optimal performance.
Okay, so no more generic advice. It's about figuring out what works for you.
Exactly.
So let's bring it back to our listener, the learner who's always trying to like level up their learning game.
Yeah.
What does all of this mean for them?
It means that prioritizing sleep is not a luxury, it's essential. By using even just a few of these techniques, you can seriously improve your sleep quality, which in turn can improve your focus, your concentration, and your overall ability to learn.
So in a nutshell, sleep smarter to learn better.
Exactly. And remember, even small changes can have a big impact. Start with one technique that really speaks to you, and then gradually start adding others to your routine.
Great advice. Okay, so today we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about power naps, that whole golden 90-minute sleep thing, and how we can actually regulate our body temperature and brain activity to like hack our sleep for the better. It's definitely becoming clear that there's a lot more to sleep than just, closing our eyes and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. It's not passive, it's active.
Right.
And the coolest part is you don't need to be a sleep god or a Yale student to benefit from these techniques.
That's right. These are practical tips that anyone can use.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
I like that.
There's always room for experimentation and fine-tuning.
Yeah, it's about figuring out what works for you.
What works for one person may not work for another. The key is finding what works best for you and then sticking with it.
So there's no one-size-fits-all approach to sleep.
Nope, definitely not. Your ideal sleep routine is going to be as unique as you are. It's about listening to your body, understanding your own sleep patterns, and then making adjustments along the way.
That's such an empowering message. It's like taking control of your sleep and ultimately taking control of your life.
Exactly.
It's not something that just happens to you. You have agency.
Yeah, it's an active process.
Okay, I like that.